Hey everybody, Ethan here from WordTech, back with another video for you guys, and this time it's the review of my Unicomp UltraClassic keyboard. It's based on the IBM buckling spring key switch and also obviously on a fairly old-time design. Now, you may be wondering why I'm filming this sitting here rather than like the product on a table or something. Well, it's all nicely cable managed over here, so I got a bunch of B-roll of it and figured I would go ahead and talk to you guys about it, as well as displaying quite a bit of B-roll, because this is what it would look like in a fairly common setup, and I wanted you guys to see exactly what that looks like. Now, to start with the design, which is generally the first portion of my reviews, as many of you that follow the channel already know, I think it's fairly nice, but subdued and maybe a little bit overly plain in my opinion. And I mean, what I mean by that is obviously it's designed after older style keyboards, which didn't frankly have very much style to them. Obviously it's not tan. You can get it in the kind of beige like tan colors, but you also can get it in this nice with UltraClassic white. It's got the white keycaps with the kind of like almost black, like essentially black, really dark gray design here. Like I said, I think it looks good and I think it matches setups pretty well. It definitely looks like a classic keyboard. One thing that throws me off a little bit though is actually the Unicomp logo up at the top is blue and honestly a little bit outdated and kind of ugly, and that bugs me. I like the look of a classic keyboard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to A, put your logo on it that doesn't match the color scheme, and B, have a logo that frankly looks like the keyboard's old when these really aren't that old. You know, this is a brand new keyboard. And so that's one thing that bothers me a little bit, but overall the design is pretty uniform. I do think it matches my setup in particular really well because I've got the black and white theme going everywhere as kind of the goal. Unfortunately, yes, the wall is green. I might repaint that someday, but everything else that follows after here I attempt to make as black and white as possible. Now, the font is very basic and simple, nothing weird here, which is something that I really appreciate. I hate it when keyboard companies change the font to try and be something cool. I'm talking about you, Razer, and there's other ones out there. Razer has since gone, away from that, but I mean, they're older keyboards. Any of you that own some of their older stuff are going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's a little bit frustrating when you have a non-standardized font. You want something that is, like I said, standardized. You want something that looks normal, and this definitely matches that. So it definitely fits the classic vibe there, and I appreciate that. And the keycaps themselves are very tall, high-raised keycaps, which is another thing that I like. A lot of mechanicals are that way, and this is technically considered a mechanical. In fact, a lot of would argue that it's the first mechanical keyboard, and by that, really, it just means the buckling spring switch developed by IBM came out a long time ago, frankly. And Unicomp, I don't fully understand if they have the patents or have just like copied the design because the patents have been released. I don't know all the details on that, but it is the IBM buckling spring switch as far as you understand, and I haven't seen anybody say that it feels different from the original IBM buckling spring switch. Maybe it is even ones manufactured by IBM. I'm honestly not sure there, but they feel amazing. More on that obviously in the performance section of this. When it comes to design, I'd probably give it 8 out of 10 if you're going for the classic style. Personally, if you want RGB and stuff like that, obviously this isn't the keyboard for you, and it would be more like a 6 out of 10, but I'm judging it based on the users that would be likely to buy something that looks like this in the first place. And when it comes to classic design, I do appreciate it, so I would give it an 8 out of 10. The only things really knocking it off are the logo. I mean, that does bug me. Not a huge amount, but I mean, depends how important that is to you. You know, maybe it's more of a 9 out of 10 if you don't really care about that too much, but it does bug me a decent amount. Now, when it comes to build quality on this, it is mostly great. There are a few things though that kind of bother me. So along the bottom of the keyboard, you can actually see where the plastic has been kind of mounted and molded, and it's pushed out a little bit, and it's not completely uniform. Now, of course, you don't see that portion, and it doesn't feel like it's not sturdy, but it does bother me just a little bit there. Not huge points knocked off for that or anything, but something that definitely keep in mind, you know, when you see it, don't be surprised. Yours isn't broken. They look like that, and it's normal. It still feels pretty durable. I do like the feel of the overall keyboard. I think it feels very, very solid. It doesn't slide around very much, and there's no like flex in the body or anything like that. As far as I understand, there's no metal reinforcement and stuff on this like there are in some mechanical keyboards, but realistically, engineering matters more than just the, you know, the thickness and strength of the material, and I think that the engineering that they've done to make this thing stable is pretty great. And it doesn't really fall short in pretty much any build area other than, like I said, the visual stuff on the bottom, which isn't necessarily what I would consider build quality, but more like perceived build quality. It definitely feels very sturdy. There isn't very much flex in the keyboard chassis or anything like that. But the only place that it falls short other than that is the keycaps themselves sometimes don't stay perfectly straight. And by that I mean they move just a tiny bit off axis, like they're angled a little bit. Not permanent or anything, they're just not as strong as they can be. And I think that's just related to the fact that the buckling spring switch doesn't have as much stability as like a cherry switch, where the stem on a cherry switch keeps the switch, you know, in a very specific place, and they don't move around much, at least generally speaking, unless you have O-rings at the top. There's a little bit of flex there. So that's the only place that I really personally feel it falls short in build quality. I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8 out of 10 on build quality as well. I have seen better built keyboards. If I hadn't seen some that were better that had aluminum plating and stuff, then, you know, and like I said, that doesn't necessarily equate to the actual durability, but it definitely equates to what I would consider quality. And, you know, this, as far as I understand, not having that being all plastic, you know, I'll give it an 8 out of 10, not a 9 out of 10, again, because I've seen other stuff, but it definitely feels like it's going to withstand many, many, many years of usage. And considering it's not really suitable for gaming, more on that later as well, I don't think it's something that's going to be particularly abused. It's just going to be typed on. So I would guess that you get a lot of years of usage out of this without any major issues. So when it comes to performance, there's really two aspects to this keyboard: what it feels like to type on and what it feels like to game on. And they are completely different sides of the spectrum when it comes to how good it is. First things first, don't buy this as a gaming keyboard. It has very, very, very heavy switches. It doesn't have N key rollover and other features like that that are necessary when it comes to a keyboard. It doesn't seem to have any ghosting issues or anything like that, but it is not built to be a gaming keyboard. It is not intended to be a gaming keyboard. Please don't expect it to be a gaming keyboard. If you're going to buy this for gaming, you better know what you're getting yourself into. It gets kind of strenuous to game on because you're holding down these fairly heavy keys. I don't know what the actuation force is off the top of my head, but it definitely feels substantially heavier than MX Browns and even than MX Blues. I'd say it feels even a decent amount heavier than Cherry MX Greens. So it is a very heavy switch. And I have a switch tester here, so I have lots of different kinds of Cherry switches, and it feels heavier than every one I have on that, the heaviest of which being the green switch. It's a heavy switch. It's going to get a little bit tiresome when you game on it. I've gamed on it for several hours. Not too terrible of an experience, but that depends how, you know, what your, what your actions per minute is, or actions per second, or whatever you want to call it, your APM. And, you know, it's something that just gets tiring. My fingers and wrists were tired afterwards. I'm not knocking points off the keyboard for this. I do want to mention that because this is clearly not built to be a gaming keyboard, but considering the audience that tends to watch this channel, I want you guys to know, don't buy it for gaming, buy it for typing. I write news articles, I edit, I respond to comments, I do social media. That's what this computer, this workstation system over here is for. It is not for gaming, and that's why this keyboard suits me really, really well. I have a dedicated keyboard over here that is actually for my gaming setup, and that's a G-Skill keyboard, which you can check out the review of up here, by the way. So now, to move past the gaming section, I just wanted to make sure all of that was out in the open. When it comes to the typing experience, it is absolutely incredible and honestly, period, the nicest thing I've ever typed on. I have typed on everything from you know, garbage like silicon membrane switches that are just, you know, garbage, not even really considered switches, like, you know, $5 keyboards that you can get, or those little roll-up silicon keyboards. And I mean pretty solid amount of typing on these types of things, all the way up to what I would call this. I have tried every kind of Cherry switch that I could get my hands on, both with my switch tester, as well as I've had 2 sets of Cherry MX Browns myself. I've had ones without O-rings, ones with O-rings. O-rings make them a little bit softer to type on, but also a little bit quieter. I've typed consistently on Cherry MX Blues. I've typed consistently on Cherry MX Reds. So as you can see, I've also typed quite a bit on the Roamer G switch, which I really do like that switch. But I just want to give you guys a little bit of a background there. I have tested a lot of keyboards and used a lot consistently, and this one feels the best to me. And it's not even necessarily my fastest typing, for speed, you want something that's a little bit lighter weight, in my opinion. It doesn't require so much actuation force, but I tend to type really, really hard and smash my keyboard a lot when I type. It's just the way I type. I type fast and hard, so to speak. And I've had trouble with some of the cherry switches, just they feel like they bottom out too easy, and this really satisfies that. It's the most satisfying thing I've ever had to type on. I feel everything feels incredibly accurate. That's one thing, is my accuracy has gone up with this keyboard, while I'd say my overall speed has maybe gone down a little bit, just because it's easier to feel where the actual keys are. And as far as I understand, these are PBT keycaps, which have a little bit of a rougher texture to them, so it's a little bit easier to tell where things are. You can get PBT keycaps on cherry keyboards. Some of them potentially come with them. Most of them tend to come with an ABS plastic though, because it's cheaper. But definitely the keycaps on this are 10 out of 10 when it comes to the quality. They feel incredible, and the switch, of course, is everything. If you guys know what it's like to switch from a membrane keyboard over to like a cherry mechanical keyboard, this is like that same transition versus cherry mechanical keyboards. It really is that good, in my opinion, and I've had an amazing experience, and I don't think I'll ever go back. In fact, I've been considering buying another one of these just in case they aren't available in, you know, like a decade, when maybe this one needs to be replaced. And that's how much I love this keyboard. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do that right away, but maybe within the next year or so I'll buy another one, just to have a brand new one sitting around ready for me when this one finally gives out, because I absolutely love this. I have tested the actual key rollover. There is not N key rollover. It is 5 key rollover as far as my testing could verify, but it depends on the area that you're typing on the keyboard. Generally, you're going to be fine in gaming if you're doing casual gaming. Like I said, it's not a gaming keyboard. It's not very comfortable to game on, but if you decide to do that, if you are a gamer on the side and you primarily do work and lots of typing, you might be able to get by with this. Just don't expect to play a game that has really high APM, actions per minute, and doing majority of those on the keyboard. Now, of course, you can only do so many keys with one hand, right? But like I said, it depends on the area, what the key rollover is, and it's something that could potentially get in the way, although I doubt it's going to be much of an issue for people, the rollover in specific. The really bad part about this for gaming comes to how heavy the switches are. But again, the switches feel great. They have a ton of travel distance. They are very comfortable to type on. They are very, very, very obvious when you actually go past the point where it, you know, sends the signal, the actuation point on it. They are very, very clicky. It is also loud though. Keep that in mind. This is the loudest keyboard I've ever typed on. And again, that's coming from somebody that has used blues fairly extensively as well. This is a really, really loud keyboard. So what I would say personally is, if you're going to be typing a lot and you're interested in trying something like this out, I would definitely recommend getting one, especially if you like typing on blues. And I mean, I'm talking about the feel. Obviously, with noise, you just need to know that this is a noisy keyboard, and I'll get some footage of that for you guys. Alright everybody, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a sound test here for you guys. So I'm actually using the open microphone on my camera, so sorry for the lower audio quality. I'm not using my lav to record this. I want to give you guys an idea of what it sounds like a couple of feet away. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a little bit of a typing test on here. Forgive my not the best typing, but anyway, you guys will kind of have an idea of what exactly it sounds like to hear this keyboard. Again, from a couple of feet away. Across the room it's a little bit quieter, but it is definitely a very loud keyboard, and that could be a potential complaint for people. So I do want to emphasize that. Those two things I'm trying to emphasize are, it's not really great for gaming, and it's definitely loud. And if you're not going to be gaming much and you don't mind the noise, then it's definitely what I would say the keyboard for you. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of Type Racer from the Type Racer website, so obviously the full credit goes to them for the website and everything, but I'll go ahead and do that to show you guys what it sounds like. Alright, so we are getting ready. We have 10-second countdown, playing with guests, obviously, not surprised, and we'll see how I do. Camera's watching, so I'm probably going to be terrible, just saying. Okay, so finished that typing test there. Their website scrolled down. Stop it. So yeah, so they're saying anybody who gets over 100 words per minute has to take a typing test to discourage cheaters. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and actually just refresh the website, and we're going to go ahead and do another typing test here so that you guys can hear a little bit more about what it sounds like. 8 seconds, we're getting there. The typing tests are easier when you're just a guest. It's funny. All right. So that one there, 98 words per minute. I'm semi-confident on that. But anyway, that gives you guys an idea of what it sounds like. Again, a couple of feet away, fairly loud keyboard. And take my word for it, if you can't completely tell, it is definitely louder than MX Blues, MX Greens, and obviously like browns and reds, because those tend to be even quieter than blues and greens. But if you don't mind the noise and you like typing on, say, Cherry MX Blues or Greens, if you manage to have a green keyboard, I'd highly recommend getting one of these and at least trying it out. I don't believe they have any kind of money-back guarantee when it comes to like testing them or anything, but I think that you'll never want to go back. It is the most amazing typing experience, and I'm going to straight up say it is a 10. It is the best typing experience I've ever had on a keyboard, and again, I will absolutely never go back. For gaming, please don't get it though. Please don't buy this for gaming and be disappointed in it. But for typing, it is a 10 out of 10. It is the best typing experience, and there is a reason that the IBM buckling spring switch has been talked about even today, 30 years later after its development, or it might even be over 40 years by now. I can't remember exactly when it was developed, but it's been around for a very long time, and there's a reason that there have been people before Unicomp was doing this that were trying to hunt down IBM Model M keyboards on like eBay and stuff for a better typing experience. They wanted a Model M. Well, this is the best of both worlds. You get a modern look so it doesn't clash with your system, and by modern I mean it's still classic looking, but it's modern, right? And you also get the ability to use USB. So you get kind of the best of both worlds there, in my opinion, and it is just absolutely incredible. So as a conclusion, I think that the overall design of it is pretty great. Not the best I've ever seen, but definitely what I would say is quite excellent, especially if you favor the classic design. And when it comes to the build quality, it's right up there with some of the higher end keyboards, but not necessarily as nice as some of the things from the likes of like Corsair that actually have aluminum plating and stuff on them. And whether this is actually going to hold up better or not, that's something it's hard to tell, because keyboards tend to last many, many, many years, and that's something that can't necessarily be judged right off. I haven't had these keyboards for, a decade yet, right? But from what I know, and what build quality is at least perceived as, some of the other mechanical keyboards out there have a higher perceived build quality. And again, when it comes to typing, this is the best thing that I think anybody will ever experience with typing. Just be prepared for the heavy actuation force. It may be a little bit tiresome to type on at first, but once you get used to it and your hands kind of adapt, I pretty much guarantee that you're absolutely going to love it. Overall score on this is a 9.5 out of 10 is what I would give it. And I think that it's well deserved there. The areas that drop off a little bit aren't super drastic, and I mean its typing experience is so good, it makes up for any of the other minor flaws that this keyboard does have. So anyway, everybody, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the new camera setup. I have a 2-camera setup here, but I'm using a phone over there, so I'm not sure what the quality of that looks like. So let me know what you guys think, if I even decide to throw that in the video. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, let me know how we're doing. Let me know what you think of the keyboard if you have one, or let me know if you're going to be getting one. They're definitely excellent, and again, I highly recommend it. And of course, don't forget to check out all the links in the video description that go to our website, our various social media stuff, our forums, as well as like our Patreon page if you're interested in like donating to us or something like that. And thank you everybody for watching.